Hey Mary, good to see you again today.
You too.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for coming in again. I know we talked a little bit on the phone last week about what was going on. I'm glad that you came to see me. Before we start today, I'm just going to really get to know you try to get to know you on a personal level, and get some basic information on you, yourself, your family, and what's really going on. But before we start that, I just need to let you know about my role as a therapist today. So I'm here to help you out as best as I can, but there are a couple limitations in terms of what I can do. So our therapy sessions are going to be as confidential as possible. I'm not going to tell anybody anything about our sessions unless I find out that you're about to harm yourself, you're going to harm others, you're going to harm a specific group of people, or anything like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if there's something like that does come up, and I want you to be completely honest with me, but if there's something like that comes up, I'm going to have to report it to somebody else just because I don't want you to harm yourself or anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So that being said, you ready to get started?
I am.
Okay, so on the phone we just talked about some of your basic information. You're 21 years old, and what do you do during your time? Are you a student, or are you working, or what's going on?
So I'm a full-time student, and I commute from home.
Where do you live?
I live in Malden, Mass.
Oh, right on the Orange Line. So where do you go to school?
I go to Emmanuel College.
Oh, okay.
So also right on the Orange
Downtown? Emerson or Emmanuel?
Emmanuel.
Oh, okay, yeah. Everyone always confuses those two with the two M's. Kind of hard to differentiate between the two.
I get it.
So you go to school. What year are you?
I am a senior.
Senior. What are you studying?
Biology.
Just straight up biology?
And I have a minor in psych.
Huh. What interests you about psych?
My sister has a pretty significant background with mental illness, and she has spent a lot of time hospitalized. So it's just something that's interested me. I'm looking into psychiatric nursing after this.
Cool.
Yeah.
So you want to work in like an inpatient, outpatient unit, or in a psych hospital, or?
I think inpatient specifically.
Cool.
Working with people with eating disorders, like adolescent girls particularly.
Awesome. Sounds like you got a plan.
Yeah, it's everybody always calls me Plan Girl.
Plan Girl. That's funny. Why is that?
I think I'm always sort of the person with a plan. Really, someone who likes to just like make sure that I know what's going on, that everybody else knows what's going on. Just like very organized, I think, in that sense.
So you're studying biology. It's going to tell me where you have applications coming in, or you're filling out applications for grad school. Are you doing that? Or are you going to take a year off, or what's your plan, I guess?
Yeah, so I've got a plan. So I'm going hopefully directly into a nursing program. So a lot of schools have, if you have a bachelor's in biology, that you can go and take a year to get your RN to be a registered nurse.
Cool.
So I'm looking at Bunker Hill, which is just the cheapest option.
Yeah.
I could live at home. It's also right on the Orange Line, just about 5 stops from me.
Yeah.
Super easy. Northeastern also has a great program that I could graduate in 5 years with a master's in psychiatric nursing and be a nurse practitioner, which is awesome, but it's super expensive, and financially I don't think that I'm as interested in that.
Yeah, I get that. I'm sure coming out of college, at a private school for sure, you might have a little bit of debt. And piling it up, even more is definitely a tough thing to get yourself to do. But definitely, a little piece of advice from me is just to do whatever's going to make you the happiest.
Right.
And that's only something you can figure out.
Yeah, I think not being in debt, I think, is what's going to be the easiest. Where I could graduate from Bunker Hill in 2 semesters with a job that starts at $60,000 a year.
Yeah, and it doesn't set you back at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Well, then I don't see why.
Yeah, no, that sort of is what...
To me, it seems like you've done a good job thinking through your options and, figuring out what's best for you and your situation. So you live at home. What's the life at home like?
So I live with my mom and her new husband.
Okay.
So my mom was divorced my freshman year of college. And previously I had lived in the house that I live in now. But with my mom, my dad, and my younger sister.
Okay.
And now my dad lives with his girlfriend, who also they live in Malden also.
Okay.
Maybe 5 minutes from where we live. And my parents have no contact at all. And my sister in January moved out to live with my dad, but she now lives with her girlfriend.
Okay.
And she also has no contact with my mom.
Okay.
But up until January, had contact with her.
What's that like for you? What's your contact like? It seems like you live with your mom. Do you see your dad still?
Yeah.
What's your guys' relationship like?
I try to see my dad like once or twice a week. I usually will so I have classes pretty much all day, Monday and Wednesday. So I'm at school from maybe 9 or 10 in the morning until 8 or 9 at night, which is a long day, but it works. And then during my break in the middle of the day on those days, I'm usually at lab. I'm a research assistant at Children's.
Oh, that's awesome. Is that just like an internship or is it a job?
Yeah, so that's my internship.
Cool.
So it's unpaid. I do neuro-ophthalmology research.
Cool.
Yep, and then so on Tuesdays and Thursdays I don't have classes, and I work at a daycare, at a Montessori daycare, and I'm a teacher there.
Nice. So you got a lot going on.
Yeah, so it's pretty busy, but
pretty busy schedule.
I think I really like to be busy, and I'm sort of like, I don't do as well with downtime. But so you would ask me how often I see my dad.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's okay.
Stay on track here.
So because I'm home on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I usually try to get dinner with him one of those days.
Cool.
And then I usually try to get a weekend day in, whether we watch the Patriots on Sunday afternoon or like if I go there Saturday morning. We have 2 dogs, and I'll take them to go see. My dad also has 2 dogs, so we'll just have a big dog party.
That sounds awesome.
It's a lot of fun.
I love animals.
Me too. Me too.
So your dogs live with your mom?
Yeah.
In your house, so you get to see them a lot when you're at home?
Yeah, we walk them on Tuesday and Thursday mornings. My mom and I. So that's sort of the quality time that I spend with my mom.
Nice. So it seems like you're kind of the middle person between all these different groups of people.
Oh, yes.
Your mom doesn't talk to your dad. Your mom doesn't talk to your sister. But before we get into it, what's your relationship like with your sister?
So I haven't seen or heard from my sister since October.
It's like a month now.
Which is, so it's the end of November, so a little bit over a month. She is, I had mentioned before, has a history with mental illness. She has borderline personality disorder and just doesn't do well with relationships.
Okay.
She has this girlfriend. I'm not exactly sure how long she's been dating her. Maybe about a year, a little less than a year.
Girlfriend for a year.
And so she lives with her girlfriend and the girlfriend's mom and grandmother. Neither of them, she graduated high school last year. Neither her or the girlfriend work. So they just sort of hang out in her house all the time. And my sister is very content with that and doesn't really want to leave. Doesn't want to do anything. I think, we both had a difficult time with my parents' separation.
Yeah, when did that happen?
That was my freshman year of college. So I'm a senior now, so
3 years ago.
3 years ago.
At this point. And do you mind me asking, if it's too personal for you to get into, but why they separated?
I think it was for a lot of reasons, but my dad was emotionally abusive to my mom. And it was just not a healthy relationship at all, and she ended the relationship, and he moved in with his parents, and then eventually, maybe a year later, they both started dating again.
Yeah.
And they are both much happier now.
That's good, yeah. So, like I was saying earlier before we talked about your sister, it seems like you're kind of the middle person between all these different groups. Is that difficult for you? Is it stressful for you? I guess why? What's your biggest problem right now, I guess?
I think I feel very stuck in the middle right now. So I guess the best example for this that I can say right now is my mom still pays my sister's cell phone bill.
Okay.
And she doesn't want to be. So one of my dogs just got diagnosed with diabetes, so that's which is a little sad,
Yeah,
but he's okay.
totally. Okay.
But so it's expensive. He has to get insulin, he has to get special food,
Yeah,
and it's more expensive.
Medication for anybody is expensive, but a
Yeah.
pet is just another added expense too.
Right. So my mom and my dad both are, neither of them went to college, so they're both low income.
Okay.
So it's just an added expense. So my mom decided that the best thing for her to do is to, especially where she doesn't talk to my sister anymore, to stop paying her cell phone bill and have my dad pay it, because she does still talk to my dad. And so
I thought you said there was your sister.
My sister.
Talks to your dad. Got
sorry.
it. Okay.
And so my mom has to organize this, and my sister won't talk to her, and she won't talk to my dad.
Yeah.
So I'm the person.
So you're the one who's being forced to communicate between all these different groups.
Yeah. So my mom has to tell Grace that her phone is getting shut off at the end of the month. But
so you're so people, sorry to interrupt you, but it seems like people are pushing their kind of bad news and the things that they don't really want to, they're kind of being the bad guy in the situation, but it seems like they're kind of pushing that role onto you to deliver to everybody else.
Yeah.
You're the mediator between your dad and your mom and your sister,
yeah.
And then I'm sure you have your own issues that you have to deal with between all of them yourself, let alone having to deal with, you're telling your sister that she's going to have no phone, or telling your dad that, he has to spend an extra $50 a month on a cell phone bill now, rather than having her deal with the problem directly herself. And I get that can probably cause a lot of stress for you right now. And how are you dealing with that?
I'd say I don't really deal with it.
Okay.
And I don't really necessarily feel like I have the best outlet to deal with it, because my mom, doesn't understand that, she sort of feels like it's my obligation to be her middleman.
Why is that, do you think?
I think just because it's the most convenient thing, and what would really make the most sense would be for her to have some contact with my dad.
Yeah, why doesn't she talk to him, if you don't mind me asking? Is there...
I think she's just sort of stubborn about it. They had cut off all contact initially with a restraining order.
Oh, okay. And that's still in effect now.
Yeah, and she just sort of won't get rid of it. And there's no reason not to.
So that would be why you're...
Yeah,
it seems like it's pretty convenient that that's still there, so you're the one that has to deliver all the...
Yeah.
Okay, now it's making sense to me. So, yeah, do you have anything?
No, sorry.
No worries. So you are not dealing with the stress of all of this well. Have you ever talked to your mom about, or not just your mom, but have you ever talked to anybody about the added pressure that they're putting on you by not dealing with their own problems themselves and pushing them onto you?
So I had brought it up to my mom once, maybe not this past summer, but the summer before. My sister had an at-home therapist when she was living at my house. And so we had a family therapy session.
With
my sister's therapist, and it was me and my mom.
So your dad wasn't present at that?
No, my parents were already separated.
Okay, got it.
And so we had sort of sat down and just addressed the stresses that I was going through. And my mom really didn't take well to it, or I don't even really feel understood it. And it was what I had said before, she sort of just feels like it's my obligation.
She doesn't really understand where you're coming from with it?
Right. Because it's she has these stresses. And I think that she almost puts me in more of a parental role. Where she doesn't see me as her kid, but more as an equal.
Yeah. Your sister's younger than you.
Yeah.
By how much?
She's 3 years younger than me, but so right now, they don't have any contact, but previously they did, and my sister was always, my whole life, very baby.
I can totally understand that. I'm actually a big brother to my little brother. He's also 3 years younger than me. I think that's definitely an age gap where your parents, I can talk about myself only, mm-hmm. but my parents definitely relied on me a lot to, take care of my brother when they weren't around, or, mm-hmm. Just as you're kind of like another parent. You're kind of just a little bit older enough that you have enough responsibility that you can actually take care of someone. And I think that can definitely be a tough situation, especially like when I was doing with my brother, um, having to like kind of balance being the big sister and also like a parental figure at the same time. So
Right.
I totally get where you're coming from. That that's a really stressful situation.
Mm-hmm. And I completely understand. I know that there is like a big sister role that you play where like I'm like a mentor to my younger sister, or I am like a role model for her.
Yeah.
But I think that like my expectations have like greatly surpassed that. Where like I'm not expected to do that, but I'm expected to, tell her that she's getting her phone shut off, or just like I think just the general like my mom will pick my sister over me like 10 times out of 10. So, an example of this,
Yeah, what do you mean by that?
So I spoke at Emmanuel College does a big thing every year. They do dance marathon,
Mm-hmm.
and so it raises money for Children's Hospital. And my sister spent a lot of time at Children's when she was initially hospitalized for mental illness, and so I was given the opportunity to speak on my sister's behalf about her experience with Children's Hospital, how the money goes to more than, although it's really important, more than like kids with cancer, but also like buying games for. We had like a family game night every Monday when she was there.
Yeah.
So I was speaking about that, and my mom and my sister were supposed to go, but my sister had actually attempted to commit suicide the night that I was speaking, and then ended up in the hospital. And my mom, and as she should have when you really think about it, she stayed with her, and like even though I'm a block away, couldn't leave for an hour to come see me.
Yeah. So you kind of feel like your sister gets more of the attention.
Yeah. So I sort of get, like, gypped, I guess. Or if I'm having a bad day and Grace is having a bad day. So I come home from school and I've done poorly on a test or just, like, gotten in a fight with my friends. But my sister has had some kind of, like, breakdown or is just, like, having not even a specific problem, but just is, like, doing poorly due to her mental illness. Just like feeling down, then like that's the focus. And when so it happens at my dad's too. If I get there, and I want to talk about something, and I'm like, oh, so like how was your day? And it's like, oh, like Grace was awful. She was crying all day. No one could figure out what was wrong. And it's like, but like we're so glad you're here. Tell us about how you're doing at school. Like tell us something. We need to hear some good news. And it's just like, okay, so how am I supposed to tell you?
Yeah, you've got this like weird situation where people are kind of. I don't know. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it seems like you're kind of like maybe not necessarily the favorite child, but the child that's always done well. And it seems like you're succeeding in school, and it seems like your parents, both your mom and your dad separately, like look to you for sources of like positive encouragement.
Yeah.
And it seems like you're having a hard time talking to them when you're having issues because you don't want to disappoint them. Is that it? Like you don't want to let them know that, or they just don't expect that you're having problems that are serious, and they just kind of pretend like everything's fine with you and that you're doing so great, but you realize sometimes that things are not always as good as they want them to seem.
Yeah. So my mom's husband calls me as jokingly, but I think seriously as the A child. So like always doing well, always at 100% sort of thing. Like, because he has 2 kids as well.
Separately,
yeah.
Before, yeah.
And they're, like, respectively about the same age as my sister and I.
Okay.
And so they are also having a lot of trouble. They struggle with drug addiction. And so they were having a difficult time. And I've met them twice. My mom's husband doesn't really have a lot of contact with them either. And so they're not super relevant, but relevant in this story, I guess. But my sister was doing poorly, and they were both also doing poorly.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, like, thank God you're here, because, like, then what would we do?
Yeah.
Like,
no.
Then we would really feel like we were failures as parents, like, that sort of thing. And so it just puts a lot of pressure, because then how do I say, like, oh, I really am stressed out? Oh, I really do. I am really am looking for advice from you.
Yeah. It's a tough situation. It's a tough spot. And have you ever, so I know we mentioned this one time that you were with family therapists at home, but have you ever, like, talked about it with anybody other than your parents, or have you tried talking with it about your parents at a different time other than what we talked about earlier?
I think I talked to my dad about it several times because he, especially in the beginning of the divorce, really put me as the middleman. And I sat him down a few times and was like, I think very stern with him and just saying like, you will not talk about my mom in front of me. You will not speak negatively about anyone in front of me.
Yeah.
And I had just sort of said like, I'm not the middleman. Like, you need to find another way around it. And he was more receptive to that. But I think that was almost because I don't live with him. And so if he was doing that, I could just sort of cut off contact with him, which I had done for a little bit, not for any significant amount of time, but
just because of these problems that you're
yeah, just he wasn't receptive to it. So I was like, all right, like, I'm not going to be around that. But my mom, like, I live in the same house with her, so I can't be like,
you need somewhere to sleep, so you can't cut off contact with her.
Right.
Yeah. So she's kind of realizing that she's got a little more power than you at this point, and she's kind of maybe abusing that a little bit.
Yeah. So if I'm going to visit my dad, and my sister has gotten mail, or like my sister has a bill that my dad has to pay, then I have to be the one to bring
it over.
Be like, can you pay this? Or if I guess that's. And
I'm sure it's not always a nice reception that you're getting when you show up to your dad's house. You're looking forward to having a nice night watching football with him or something like you said. And oh, by the way, here's a cell phone bill that you have to pay now.
Right.
Yeah, and I'm sure it puts him, I'm sure, in a hard spot also because you've talked to him about how you don't want him to say negative things about anybody else in your family, to your mom or about your sister. But when she's kind of pushing this on you to
right.
To give him a bill, and I'm sure he's unhappy about it when he's getting it. So it's kind of, you understand where I'm coming from?
Mm-hmm.
It's a tough
line.
It's a tough line for you to be sort of walking on either side of balancing. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, thank you for sharing all that with me. So we'll go through. I just have a couple more options that I need to, or a couple more questions that I need to get. Just some brief history on, and then before we end today, I want to just go back and revisit a couple of points that we made and see where we'll go from there.
Okay.
So, some things that are useful for me to know. Any mental health history with you?
Yeah. So I was diagnosed with major depression last year.
Okay.
And I saw the counseling center at my school for about a semester and a half. But I just found it generally unhelpful. They were not very receptive to, because I was diagnosed with that after I had sort of had a breakdown and was admitted to an inpatient unit around Halloween of last year.
Okay.
And so then I came back to school and I went to the counseling center and they were sort of not even receptive to the fact that I had been diagnosed with anything, and they were not interested in even looking at medication or really doing any sort of real therapy other than just a more like chatty sort of thing. And it was unhelpful, and I let them know that. But I just financially, I told you my parents are low income, didn't have the means to look for another form of therapy.
Totally. Okay. So is that something that is still? I mean, depression is something that, is kind of a lifelong illness. Is that something that you're still struggling with, or do you think you made a lot of improvements with it, or talk to me a little bit more about it?
I would say both.
Okay.
I would say still struggling, but have made a lot of improvements. I think not being able to have, like, real therapy, the classes that I'm taking, like you just get very educated about different treatments, about just different things. So I had looked a lot about doing sort of more like at-home things, so doing a lot of reflections. I have an app that you go through the steps for CBT. I have like a daily app that I check in with about like my mood, tracks my sleep, tracks like how I'm eating, how much water I'm drinking, and you can sort of then like pinpoint triggers in like, so if I'm eating really well, that's what I feel like I associate it most with.
Yeah.
Is eating.
Food's always a good thing for everybody.
So if I'm eating very well that day, then I'm usually feeling better, versus if I skip breakfast or skip lunch or something, then I'm usually feeling down. And that's something that can be tricky commuting, because if I forget to, if I'm running late in the morning,
Yeah.
like, forget to eat breakfast
Yeah.
or just like run to lab right after class and don't grab
Yeah,
lunch.
time's tough.
Yeah, it's also expensive eating
Yeah.
and like having to pack a lunch for the
For the day
lunch
before, it's a
and
lot of
dinner.
preparation.
Yeah.
Totally. So is this depression something you'd like to be also seeing someone for? I know you came to me for, like more family related issues that you're having, but is this something that you'd like to have looked at by somebody else also, or?
I would say so. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll see what I can do for you. I can definitely give you recommendations for people to go see as well. So anything else going on? Any other medical stuff?
I have a history of migraines.
Okay.
But not that haven't been prevalent in the last year.
Okay.
They had sort of said that I most likely outgrew them.
Awesome. Well, that's good to hear.
It is.
Yeah. It's going to be really debilitating, too.
Yeah, that was also very stressful.
Any sort of substance use?
I think just like recreational use of like mostly drinking.
You'd say mostly being?
Like occasionally smoking weed. But I'd say like less than monthly.
Okay. So it doesn't seem like it's anything used to cope with stress or anything like
No,
that.
and I would say neither of them really are. I'll drink with friends, which is just
like a social kind of thing?
Yeah. My friends and I just had our big annual Friendsgiving potluck.
That's awesome. What'd you do for that?
I made crock-pot mushrooms.
Mushrooms?
Yes. It was vegetarian, gluten-free.
Oh, no turkey for anybody?
No.
Cool. And do you have friends at school? Who are these friends from home since you're commuting? Talk to me about who are those for that friend group that you're going.
So I have a few friends from school that my closest friend from school I drifted apart with my sophomore year, and she transferred.
Okay.
I have some friends that I see. I'd say a good amount of friends that I have that like I eat lunch with or see during the day or see in classes. But most of my friends, because I live so close, most of my friends from home ended up going to schools in Boston. So I stayed very close with them, and our friend circle just like we all have like a few friends who made friends.
Yeah.
And so my like group of friends, there's maybe 5 of us that are especially close, live on Mission Hill, or they are still in school.
Cool.
So I see them.
That's pretty close to where campus is for you, right?
Yeah, it's maybe a block.
Yeah.
2 blocks.
And have you talked to them about anything that's been going on with you? About like this family issue, about talking to your parents about the way that you're feeling, or?
Yeah, so my 2 closest friends, Sam and Tori, are like 100% aware of what's going on, and they are super supportive and are always like willing to help and talk about what's going on with me. And everyone sort of, the 3 of us have like a group text, and we like check in with each other every day pretty much, and just like, how's your day going, how's your week going, and we stay very close and very on top of what's going on.
That's good. It's good to have a good group of supportive friends that you can feel comfortable talking to you, especially about issues that aren't always like that happy or easy to talk about.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that they support you in that. And you said you work at a daycare.
Yeah.
Do you love it? Do you like little kids? You must like little kids.
I think everybody loves little kids. I love them. Yeah.
And you said that's just on Tuesdays and Thursdays?
Yeah. So that's just a part-time.
And you don't have class. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. So you don't have any other, I know your mom said, or you said your mom had taken a restraining order on your dad. Have you ever had any legal issues yourself?
No.
Any suicidal or homicidal behavior? And I think you haven't really had any substance abuse, you just said, recreationally and casually. You said one of the reasons for your mom leaving your dad was emotional abuse. Have you occurred, and have you had any of that yourself with your dad or anybody in your family?
No.
Okay, so we're just about out of time for today, Mary. But before I leave, I want to make a plan with you for what we're gonna do going forward. So overall, I guess your biggest issue, and correct me if I'm not right in saying this or anything, but it's definitely that you're the middleman in the family. And because you're the middleman, you're definitely put in a lot of different stressful roles that other people probably should be dealing with, but unfortunately, you're the one that has to be dealing with it in the situation. Because of that, I guess there's some sort of like favoritism that's going on. Would you say it's favoritism towards your sister or?
I would say when my mom and my sister have contact,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is really just like random and
Okay.
like more up to my sister than my mom, then yeah, my sister is the favorite.
Okay. But the real issue right now is just that you're feeling pretty overwhelmed and stressed about having to deal with all these different facets and different, I guess, different like this web of people that you're kind of right in the middle, and everyone else is around you, and you're kind of
trying to and even
bouncing from here to here, from here to here. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And even my mom and my sister are not talking, but it's constantly like, "Have you seen Grace? Have you heard from Grace?" What's
So
Grace
yeah,
up to?
you're the reporter of.
Yeah, I
Got
saw
it.
Grace posted this on Twitter. What do you think? Like,
Yeah.
just very much behavior that like I'm not interested in being engaged in.
Okay. So I guess my last question for you is, why haven't you talked to your mom or your dad or your sister about, your role that you're in?
I think just that because it's a difficult. I said before, like it's hard to say anything to my mom because I live with my mom. And I think that I think because everyone is so open about the fact that they do see me as my mom's husband said, like the A child, it's sort of hard to be like, oh, like it's hard to like everyone has these high expectations and these really high, they like view me so highly that I think it's like almost hard to, because if I talk to them and I tell them that it's hard to tell someone like, oh, like I'm not as great as you think I am. So like when someone thinks so highly of you and like you're almost like put on this like pedestal in a way where like oh, like Mary's so perfect, Mary's so great. It's in a way it's almost like a confidence booster.
Yeah, totally.
To like, but then it's like
it's hard to reveal a part of yourself that others don't necessarily know about you, especially when it's something that you might perceive as, it seems like it makes you feel like you're weaker if you were to reveal that to other people.
It's like a very vulnerable piece of information to share.
Yeah. So I guess going forward, I'm going to take the next couple of days, I'm going to just look back, reflect on our conversation that we've had, and kind of figure out a plan for you and what I think is going to be best. So I think that just talking to you like this has been really helpful today. So I think did you feel comfortable?
Yeah.
Discussing these issues? I know you said you've been to therapy before, and you weren't necessarily comfortable with like the chatter back and forth, but that in itself was just a different subject matter. So if you're feeling comfortable with this, are you free again next time this week?
Yeah.
Cool. So I think we'll go forward with that, and we can meet at this time next week. And this week I'll give you a call, just to let you know what I've figured out, and we'll figure out how we want to go forward from there.
All right.
Does that sound good to you?
It does.
Mary, it was really a pleasure to meet you and get to know you today. So I really appreciate that, and thank you for being so open and honest with me about your whole family and disclosing a lot of information that is definitely tough to share with people. So I really am appreciative of that, and I look forward to working with you and helping you out as much as I can going forward.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. No.